the most upsetting aspect of the first series of words, fire, skin, car, help, and Troy, was that they clearly referred to their good mate, Troy, who had been incinerated. Oh, my God. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I'm joined by Lozzie, Scott, and Maya. And we're doing the Humpty Doo Poltergeist. That's not a joke. That is
The
a
what
thing.
now?
The Humpty Doo. It is a poltergeist haunting from 1998. So, not that long ago. And in an era of far more accessible photography, as I think we're about to find out, which is cool. Because that's always the issue, you know, when we get like, what was it that we did the other week? What poltergeist? Amityville poltergeist. Obviously, incredibly well documented, especially when it comes to movies. But at the time, obviously not that many photos and stuff, if any, I think, actually. Which begs the question, if that was to happen today, you know, would we get a lot of evidence
Of the green slime?
Yeah, of all those different
Can
things.
I just ask, can you hear the children playing outside? Do I
Most
need to close my
definitely.
window?
Yes.
Okay, I'll close my
I
window.
was actually going to bring it up. I was going to say, is one of your houses haunted, or is there children literally outside your window?
Well, our house is haunted, so
Jesus.
I can keep my window open and
in
not.
an ironic plot twist, it's your house.
That's it.
Screaming children.
That's it.
Oh dear.
Shut that window. There we go.
Kids.
Perfect. Beautiful. Apologies to the audio
The neighbours.
listeners.
The neighbours have got about 900 children playing in their garden. That's why.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they not know we're recording?
I know.
Disrespectful.
Get a recording like on your window, facing them.
Please
Right.
be quiet.
So, the Humpty Doo Poltergeist. Before we jump into that, we will be reading a question of the pod from our patrons. If you want to become a patron, patreon.com/DutyRhino, where you'll get behind the scenes. You'll get additional content like scary video reactions. You'll get early access to the podcast and all that good stuff, as well as there's a group chat on there. Patreon have literally just gone, oh, what's that? WhatsApp do group chats. I'll have that. Gosh. So if you want, I think at the moment, we're discussing haunted movies, horror movies. Getting some suggestions, have been given some suggestions to watch, which I'm really looking forward to. So, yeah. Okay, right. Humpty Doo. Tony and Paul meet the Humpty Doo Poltergeist. Here is Tony Healy's brilliant summary of our experiences with the Humpty Doo Poltergeist in 1998. One of the most important poltergeist cases of the 21st century, which I learnt about today.
Yeah. First I've heard of it.
More about the case. Check out some of the other pages on this site, or pick up Tony and my... Oh, this is actually written by the people.
They actually went and investigated it themselves.
Fair play.
Wait, what am I reading here? Is this... No, is this of the people that lived there, or is this just two random people?
This is people that went to the house while it was the investigation was happening and investigated it, who relay all the information, including what happened.
Okay, because I don't know if the audio listeners and the visuals are picking up on this. I like to go into these blind. It's fun. It's fun for me. It's fun for you. But Scott did do a little bit of research on this, didn't you, Scott? So it's all.
I found the article that is about the limit of research.
Oh, shit.
Scott carries this pod on his back at this point.
He does. Get some guest booked in, Scott. Come on, son. You know, it makes sense. Now I need to start reaching out to people as well. Right. So we're going to learn together. All right. So basically, these two people went and investigated whilst this was all going on, which is pretty cool. But you can pick up Tony and Paul's 2014 book Australia Poltergeist. Or the translation is Australian Poltergeist. Okay. So, at the time, we were working on an article for 14 times about a couple of classic Australian poltergeist cases. We were up to our elbows in those weird old stories when we heard a father, Tom English, speak on radio about levitating crucifixes and showers of stones, which he had just witnessed in a house at Humpty Doo, most fortuitous. So Humpty Doo is the location.
That's such an Australian location name.
Isn't it?
Humpty Doo.
I was wondering where this name was going to come from.
I believe that is Humpty Doo in the Northern Territories, which is what the NT.
That's what NT. I just avoided it. I avoided it like the plague. We all remember the Kentucky, Texas debacle. So I avoided that like the fucking plague. But thank you for verifying that, Scott. Also, Scott, not to call you out, but you knew that I made the Kentucky, Texas error during the podcast and waited till the end when we'd finished recording to correct me.
Yeah, a little bit.
You left me out there to die. You left me out there to die. The haunting was focused on a 4-bedroom house set on half an acre just south of Humpty Doo. How the listen, Australia, we love you. All right? What the fuck is going on with that name, man?
If I'm being honest, 99% of the reason that I sent this case specifically through is because Humpty Doo is hilarious. And just saying it repeatedly.
I thought this was going to be something like fucking, I don't know. There's a poltergeist investigation by a team that cosplay as fucking Scooby-Doo, and they get an EVP of the Humpty Dumpty fucking nursery rhyme. And I thought that's how Humpty Doo was going to come about.
That's insane that you put that together. Like, that's so elaborate to come to that theory.
Yeah, it's an extreme origin story. I like it.
Like, that's so specific. And you were just like, well, obviously, that's where this is going.
Humpty Doo, where are you?
I will agree. I thought it was going to be to do with Humpty Dumpty in some form.
I mean, where else to get Humpty from? Like,
yeah.
I mean, do you want to know the origin of the name Humpty Doo? Because I have just looked at it.
I would absolutely love that.
There are 3 suggested names. No one knows which one's correct. It's one of 3.
Right.
It's either from the army slang term umpty, used for the dash when reading Morse code.
Right.
From a colloquialism, meaning everything done wrong or upside down.
Okay.
Or from Doo, an Aboriginal name supposedly meaning popular resting place.
That sounds most likely.
Okay, right. So they've taken potentially an Aboriginal term and Aussified it.
Yeah.
Shrimp on the barbie. Humpty Doo. Fair play. Okay, fair enough. By the time we arrived on 26th of April, it had become Australia's most publicised poltergeist case since the Goira ghost outbreak of 1921. Write that in drip chat ideas immediately. We have a new group chat.
Outbreak.
We have 2 group chats. We have the drip chat. This is not the Patreon, by the way. This is just our team. We have the drip chat, and now we have we have 3. Now we have drip ideas, because what we found was we'd come up with really cool podcast ideas, and then we'd forget about them because we'd chat, and then it would just get pushed into the ether. But the Goira ghost outbreak of 1921, we'll look into that. When Jill Somerville, Crescencio, what a player.
Knew it was coming.
Her partner Dave Clark, Jack Clark, what a player. And their mate Murph.
Danny Murphy.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What a player.
Moved into the house in August 1997. They noticed nothing strange, but after a second couple, Andrew and Kirsty Aegis, arrived with their 11-month-old toddler, Jasmine, all hell broke loose. During the monsoon season, the wet, the area witnessed several of the loudest, wildest lightning displays anyone can remember. After one such rip snorter, I'll tell you what, man. Like, fucking Australians just never change.
There's some great slang in this.
Ever change.
The fact they call their monsoon season the wet is so funny.
Yeah.
What should we call this then?
Why'd you call it that? He's fucking wet, mate. That's true, to be fair. After one such rip snorter, the group was sitting on their front veranda at dusk when small pebbles began landing among them. Tiring of what they assumed was a mate's practical joke, they moved inside, only to have the pebbles follow them in classic Polt style. Showers of half-inch diameter stones, all apparently from their long gravel driveway, landed on floors, tables, beds, and heads after apparently materializing just under the ceiling. Though the property was entirely saturated from the monsoon, all the pebbles that fell inside were bone dry. To their increasing dismay, knives, batteries, spanners, broken glass, and other objects also began to drop or hurtle across the room. 2 questions. First of all, what do you think about that? Secondly, I like how they got knives, batteries, spanners, broken glass, but then I'd love to know what then fell into the category of other objects.
Yeah.
Because that is such a fucking array of objects to begin with. Just fucking name them all.
That's really weird.
I want to say, if this is the case I'm thinking of, and I've read a few in the last, I've skimmed a few in the last sort of 24 hours. Some of the objects do get mentioned later.
Oh.
Right, okay.
Nice.
Glad
they niche down.
Adding an air of anticipation to the whole story.
I think it's actually in the next paragraph, so brace yourselves for this.
Okay. So what do we think? Because I have never heard of, I've heard of many things dropping from the ceiling. Isn't it in 30 East Drive? What drops from the ceiling in 30 East Drive? Is it just water? Or is it ooze? I can't remember.
I think it's just a puddle formed, but they didn't know where it came from.
Paranormal gunge.
Paranormal goo.
No. But so this is the thing. But pebbles?
Yeah, that's really weird. And also really creepy that they were just like sitting on their veranda and they were being thrown at them. And I can just imagine them sitting there and being like, oi, stop it. And then it just kept happening to a point where they were like calling out and no one was responding. So they went inside. Yeah. And then imagine how fucking terrified they must have been when the stones kept hitting them.
And then when the knives joined in.
Don't forget about the other objects.
I wonder what the other objects is like. It's a fucking grenade, right? Just fucking dive off the veranda because a fucking grenade with the pin pulled just fucking drops down.
Maybe like family pets.
Jesus
Christ!
Gerbil.
Fucking hell!
There's a fucking dingo.
A kangaroo.
Where the fuck are they getting bullets from, mate?
It's a koala with a fucking RPG. Koalas have chlamydia. Anyway, to the occupants, very tough. Hard-working young men and women. I don't know why that just gave me massive Trump vibes. To the occupants, very tough, hard-working young men and women. Very tough. This is excellent. All this was weird, but bearable. But when messages began to appear on the walls and floor, the group began to get a little nervous. Okay. Messages began appearing on the walls and the floor. Fuck that. The words were spelled out in Scrabble tiles. Investigation, we need to remember the Scrabble tiles.
Yes.
The words were spelled out in... Yeah, just called
Investigation,
Scrabble
it
tiles.
is.
Yeah, the words were spelled out in Scrabble tiles, scrawled on walls, or formed extremely neatly using scores of pebbles, which, Lozzie, if you scroll down to the next photograph, you will see those pebbles all grouped up.
Right.
The most upsetting.
Starting to lose me.
No, the most upsetting aspect of the first series of words: fire, skin, car, help, and Troy, was that they clearly referred to their good mate Troy, who had been incinerated. Oh my God. Okay.
I didn't mean to laugh.
The most upsetting aspect of the first series of words, I didn't realize these were connected. I should have finished the sentence. Fire, skin, car, help, and Troy was clearly referred to a good mate Troy, who had been incinerated in a road accident in January. A large cross and a trident, both made up of hundreds of pebbles, also appeared. Fairly freaked, they called the clergy. Right. I mean, obviously, let's just attack the obvious just for a second, and then we will give them the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, this could easily be staged, right? But holy shit, like, it's one thing to stage a paranormal thing for whatever, money, exposure, fame, whatever, right? But to disrespect, and I'm not saying they did this, I'm making a point, to disrespect the death of a friend like this is fucking low and dark, which makes me want to believe that they didn't do this.
Yeah.
Because
agreed.
Fuck me, man. There are if you're just going to make words out of pebbles, you don't need to involve your mate that got incinerated in a fucking road car accident. That's pretty dark.
Yeah.
Got two things that immediately stand out, though.
There we go.
One, I've never heard of an Australian owning the game Scrabble.
True.
There you go.
Do they even sell it?
Debunked.
Two, Troy is spelt differently from the actual name Troy that they claim. Obviously, their friend.
I saw that. It's as a U. I think that might be a typo.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, the U is next to the Y.
U is next to the Y. But very observant, Loz.
That's it. So,
Scrabble, just to clarify, became available in the Australian market in 1953.
Wow.
And no one's bought it since.
Whoa! Me and Mara have got like an ultimate edition. It's a board that rotates.
You're not Australian, though, are you?
Oh,
you don't know that.
Enough people have commented on YouTube asking if I'm fucking Australian.
Oh,
I get it. Apparently, I do have a little bit of an Australian twang when I talk, but
after this episode, there'll be no question. You are Australian.
That's it. It's true. How else would I know that koalas rock RPGs in the outback?
You also knew that they had chlamydia, so
yeah.
Care to explain that one?
Well, I also knew dingoes exist, so
didn't fuck those ones,
Father Tom English of Humpty Doo arrived on the scene to be greeted by a pistol cartridge, which fell from nowhere to land at his feet, and by a medicine bottle flying out of an empty room. Although inexperienced in such matters, he gamely blessed the place and doused it with holy water. Imagine that, right? You're a priest, and you rock up to do a cleansing, and a fucking pistol magazine just drops in front of you. And then you just see in the corner of the room like a sort of like shadowy koala just fucking glaring at you, like fucking finger across the throat, like, I'll cap the fuck out of you. Get the fuck out. It's just, this might just be like a little demon koala.
That's it.
Just furious.
You really don't want one of them.
No. I kind of want to see it.
I prefer a regular demon.
That's it.
Yeah.
At least regular demons, as far as I am versed, don't have chlamydia.
That's it. I want a STD-less.
Exactly.
Or I'm not interested.
Say what you want about Asmodeus. He wears condoms.
That's it.
I don't know where this is going. Anyway, let me find my place. So he's inexperienced, but he gets the job done, right? He douses it with holy water. The pole reacted in the time-honored way. It went apeshit, smashed several windows, hurled Father Tom's crucifix and Bible around the house, banged and scraped on and inside walls, and kept the occupants awake and thoroughly spooked all night. Good Lord. 2 other priests tried to pop the pult. I don't know why they keep calling it. I understand poltergeist is an annoying word to spell.
It's because this person's Australian. They don't know how to spell it.
Oh,
slander.
That
was a joke.
Links perfectly with Scrabble. My theory of Scrabble and this absolutely dead on.
If they actually bought the Scrabble board that they're talking about,
they have. I can see the Scrabble tiles.
Where?
In that picture.
They were in the picture.
They're pebbles
on the floor.
No, next to the pebbles.
Convenient.
To all the Australian audience, we do love you.
No, we do.
I guess if you read it in Australian, I'll only do this one sentence, but if you read it in an Australian sentence, in an Australian accent, 2 other priests try to pop the pult. It does make sense.
Why did you do it?
Sorry?
Boy?
Why did you go so high pitched?
I don't know. What about that Rick and Morty episode, which is just for like an internet episode where they do where they're Australian?
Oh,
I don't think I've seen that.
Something adventures.
Yeah. Is it Bendigo? We got to go to Bendigo.
Morty, we got to go to Bendigo.
Morty, we got to go to fucking Bendigo.
We got to go to Bendigo, Morty.
2 other priests trying to pop the pult, Morty. Kick the ball.
Kick the bloody ball.
There's just this massive Australian giant watching football on TV. Morty's uncle just watching football on TV. He's just going, kick the ball.
That's all he says.
Which I think sums up most football fans.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So whenever I see Jordan watching football, that's all I say. Kick the ball.
2 other priests tried to pop the pult. Father Stephen of Darwin's St. Mary's Cathedral had seen several similar infestations in his native India. After witnessing a knife fall apparently straight through the ceiling, he warned that pults are often very hard to exercise.
Same. Try and get me to the gym. You can't.
Fuck's sake.
Knew it was coming.
I knew that was teed up for someone to pick. I knew it was going to happen.
Well, whatever. Just say I'm a human shit then.
No,
predictable. Predictable. Not funny. Oh, knew that was coming. Right, you know what? I'm not speaking for the rest of the podcast. How about that? How about that?
Fucking hell, they had it all, man. A Greek Orthodox priest went the full Monty, setting up an altar on the kitchen table, blessing each room and reading arcane passages from a large black book. As the shell-shocked residents looked on, he was assaulted by an invisible force which repeatedly tried to wrench the book from his grasp and to twist his right arm behind his back. Ashen-faced, he finally sat down, declaring his adversary to be tougher than the average spook. That's pretty fucking mental. I was going to say something. Reminds me. Our good friend, Yvette Fielding.
Fan of the show.
Fan of the show, fan of the investigations. Big fan
Friend
of the big fan of the Ancient Ramin investigation. Knife out of nowhere. Let's talk about it. 30 East Drive. When they did that investigation, there's just a fucking butcher.
Off the pod.
Why is bringing up something on their show slander? What are you trying to imply here? You're trying to imply that the producers placed the butcher's knife in between the
just because Rylan was hosting that specific.
Was he the host on that one?
Rylan was the host of that specific investigation. Yeah.
Twins. He's taller than me. I've met him.
When you were brothers from birth.
Yeah, in the womb. I met him in the womb. But yeah, that just reminded me of that.
It's a theme in poltergeist cases of like knives disappearing and then reappearing out of nowhere.
Yeah. So who knows?
Episode focused a lot. That was a live stream, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it kept like appearing and disappearing out of the box and into the sofa.
It was a live stream, but I think the first bit was like pre-recorded. They were like when we were setting up earlier.
I think it was,
Nigel went to sit down and a fucking butcher's knife nearly slashed his head off. Something like that. I'm ad-libbing.
Yeah.
I mean, that was essentially,
Yeah.
This isn't slander and also not necessarily what I believe, but there's a lot of stuff from that episode that has been properly debunked. Like there's a bit where he gets dragged up the stairs and you can see a rope pulling him up the stairs, things like that.
Just waving bye-bye to a vet.
Yeah, I mean, Carl has since
never getting invited on a pod
refuted that.
I wasn't saying that it's true.
Important to note.
That was allegedly the camera wire for the camera he was holding.
Exactly. Objection, Your Honour, sustained. Don't know.
That's wrong.
Objection, hearsay.
If you sustain the objection, then that means that you agree that it should be objected. What?
Anyway, back to the poltergeist.
It's all right. If it makes you feel any better, what's her name? Amber Heard's lawyer doesn't understand that either. So
no.
Throwback.
Do you remember when her lawyer objected his own question or her own question? That was fucking brilliant.
Objection, Your Honour.
You asked the question. So funny.
Shit. Imagine he had met the fucking millions Amber Heard paid for those lawyers, and oh my god. If I was given a lawyer because I couldn't afford one, and they did that, I'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway, 30 East Drive coming up in the summer. Exciting. I mean, it is the summer. It's June. Literally feels like February to me, but it is June. August, isn't it? Don't give us the exact date, but August.
I was then about to say it, to be fair, so I'm glad you stopped me.
That's it.
I still want to. I could.
August the 53rd.
Oh, the what? August the what?
53rd.
Ah, yes. A date that doesn't exist. I see. Yeah, so we will be back. Yeah. Are we staying up the day before?
We can do.
I feel like we should.
I have to.
It's like a 5-hour drive for us.
Scott?
I think, Scott, you shouldn't, because you in the last...
It was so funny.
It was just brilliant. Everything about you that day makes that video for me.
I'll consider it.
Nice.
But yeah, nice. we definitely have to, because I won't do that drive again that tired. But then we'll also need to stay the night of somewhere.
Well, we do anyway.
Yeah, but we don't sleep though, and then I'm really tired when we drive home.
Yeah, well, we can just go to Ellen Road, pick up a few shirts, and then drive back.
Crash in the stand.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, 30th Drive coming up. Very exciting, very exciting. Right, whereabouts are we? Oh my God, I mean, there's a little bit left. So, the local Lichfield Times was soon tipped off. Its editor, Jack Ellis, and 2 reporters visited the house, observed a pelting, and in no time the story went ballistic. I mean, there is a lot of different people being attacked by this thing. Are they all in on it? If it was to be fake, which I don't think it was. Just saying. The sleep-deprived hauntees were soon fielding phone calls day and night from radio stations and newspapers from as far away as Scandinavia. So this went global. And this was before social media as well. They soon signed a contract granting exclusive rights to the story for a week in Sydney's Channel 7. Although the promised $5,000 would be most welcome, they signed mainly in the expectation of being protected from other media harassment and in the hope that video evidence would validate their story. I mean, fair enough, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially like in the hope, you know, because it must be not. If you believe this to be true, you must be like, please, for the love of God, someone film this shit so that we can be exonerated. Although the entire TV crew quickly became fervent believers after dodging flying objects, they also became extremely frustrated as the Pult took to playing hide and seek with their cameras. Operators with handheld cameras were invariably facing the wrong way as objects landed right next to them. With the house empty and locked, 5 constantly running fixed cameras recorded a whole lot of nothing until the battery expired. Signals went off. Then, as the duty cameraman walked to the house with the new batteries, his exasperated but amused mates drinking on the patio would hear a tattoo of wax as objects careened around the interior messages. No cameras, no TV, and pig camera appeared on walls and floors to taunt them. Wow. After 20... What?
Not one thing got caught on camera.
And the moment they went in there to change the batteries, things started kicking off again. After 24 hours, after a 24-hour workday and great inconvenience to the residents, the crew managed to record only 3 objects in motion. A baby's bottle inexplicably falling from the top of a microwave, a pistol bullet in the last foot or so of its fall, and a plastic lid flying from behind a cupboard. Channel 7's Today Tonight, one of the country's least ethical tabloid television shows, nevertheless used the story to great advantage, achieving very high ratings. Finally, to the horror of the hauntees and to the dismay of their own cameramen, the program's skeptical city-based producers, having owned the story for a week, decided to scuttle it. Using a questionable video with misleading voiceovers, they attempted to prove they had caught Kirsty in the act of throwing an object. Oh, they're doing them over. The Pult story, they declared, was over. Dead. The Pult, however, seemed not to have heard its own obituary. It's continued its pesky pranks while the tenants, feeling used, abused, and betrayed, and still awaiting the balance of their money, vowed to disembowel any other flicking media vultures who dared to darken their door. At the auspicious moment, Healy and Cropper arrived. We were received by 2 very tough-looking, unsmiling hombres. Shaven-headed Andrew was guarded but polite. Glowering, heavily tattooed biker Murph didn't bother to hide his disdain for use media bastards. Fortunately, we had with us our material on earlier Aussie Pult cases as they eagerly scanned it, finding many similarities to their own experience. And as they realized we were genuinely interested, they began to lower the barriers. After Dave and Jill, both quiet and easygoing, and the more intense but friendly Kirsty arrived, things became even more relaxed, and we were invited to stay for the night. Far from being a bunch of drunken layabouts, as some of the media tried to portray them, the residents struck us as being strong-minded, competent people. It was clear that above all else, they simply wanted to be believed. Well, it didn't take long to convince us. Nothing happened as we slept on the lounge room floor that night, except for a sudden staccato cry from a gecko, which resulted in Paul having to carefully peel Tony off the ceiling. Banter. But during the next 5 days, often with only Kirsty in the house, about 30 objects fell on or about us. Usually we heard a sharp whack as a missile hit, then caught sight of it as it ricocheted off a wall or settled on the floor. Most of the objects were familiar household items, but some, like a yellow light bulb which fell beside us on the concrete patio without breaking, had not been seen before. We gathered the material and stashed it into the drawer on the patio, only to have the items appear one by one back inside the house. After some of the episodes, we found Dave and Jill's bedroom trashed, the mattress askew, and sometimes gravel strewn about. On one occasion, Paul heard a rattling sound on the tin roof of an instant before 13 pebbles landed on the kitchen floor beside him, having apparently teleported through both roof and ceiling. Stones later fell on his head, and a skinning knife narrowly missed Tony's ear. Imagine that. Skin and knife. Ear's gone.
Yeah, you wouldn't have a great
fucking time. Reservoir Dog style. What is the song? What's that song in that scene?
Stuck in the Middle with You, I think it was something.
Stuck in the Middle with You. Oh, what a fucking hell. I love Reservoir Dogs. What a fucking movie.
Great film.
Great film. Great scene. Fantastic. The more we saw, the more we understood the residents' fury at the smug, ill-informed skeptics who offered patently unfeasible explanations to the press from their homes in Darwin or Sydney. One such idiot seriously suggested that the group, with an 11-month-old toddler in the house, placed gravel, sharp knives, and broken glass on top of their ceiling fans so that the material would fly out in all directions at the flick of a switch. Many of the incidents could, if one or more of the residents had been skilled conjurers, have been faked, but several, such as when a pistol cartridge dropped vertically onto Paul's leg as we sat facing the only other people in the room, seemed almost unfakeable. Interesting use of the word almost there.
Yeah, that caught me.
But another pistol magazine, telling that koala's back. Two incidents in particular were very convincing. A small crucifix left at the house by Father Tom became a frequent flyer. Several times a day, it would disappear from the mantelpiece and later crash into a wall somewhere. When it landed on the rear patio beside Paul, with the only other people 30 meters away and plainly in sight, he became a near total believer. When Tony saw a little brass plug fall vertically onto a table between he and Kirsty, who was holding a newspaper with both hands while reading a pulp story aloud, he too had to admit that a hoax was almost out of the question.
Almost again.
Yeah. It would be natural for skeptics to question the judgment of people like us who chase yowies and bunny yips and who, like Agent Mulder, obviously want to believe. So I hasten to mention that all 6 journalists we met who visited the house also came away firm poltergeist believers. Northern Territory News reporter Nikki Voss and her cameraman had their extreme skepticism jolted when they were greeted by a beer mug which shot with great force and uncanny accuracy through a very small hole in a window pane. Shortly afterwards, as they stood with their backs to a solid wall, they were hit in the nape of their necks with a shower of gravel. Jesus. Tracy Farrar of ABC Radio Darwin, who had collected small brown shells at the beach only the day before, watched as an identical shell land on the table in front of her as she interviewed Kirsty. I mean, fucking hell, man. There's a lot of things going on here, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's crazy. She received an inexplicable shock from her microphone and, most tellingly, saw a TV remote control unit lift off of a table next to her and fly into the air. Though thrilled, she was, like Nikki Voss, plagued by bad dreams for several nights afterwards. So what do we think so far, guys? Are we believing it?
I think so.
I also do, because of so many people being involved.
Yeah.
That's the thing for me. There are so many individuals.
Trying to get this many journalists, I think, to all agree to fake something would take a lot of work.
But you've also got 3 priests from 3 different fucking countries as well.
And 3 sort of different sects of a religion.
Lottie, what do you think?
I mean, the 3 priests, for me, that's not, in my opinion, that great of evidence, because that's their whole job is to believe in this thing happening to try and expel them or whatever. The journalists, though, the amount of them, there's double the amount of journalists compared to the priests. So I'm actually amazed that this building is still standing. The amount of shit is being thrown around, the interior walls must be absolutely fucked.
Yeah. Definitely.
It's got stab holes in it. Fucking gravel everywhere, stones and shit flying indoors. I wonder what that would have looked like in there.
Yeah. I think it's also important to note, because you could also potentially be thinking, well, journalists could get on board because it's a fantastical story to sell, but nothing sells like negativity. And if you expose a family for faking this for their own benefit, I actually believe that would sell as well as, if not better. People love exposés, and so the fact that all these, let's say, all these journalists are getting on board with it, I think there's just as much motivation for them to destroy this story as it is to prove it. So,
yeah.
I mean, maybe not to that extent, because if they if they prove the existence of the paranormal, that is pretty big. But still, there is still the antithesis to it that would more than suffice a journalist, I'm sure. You know. But yeah, where did I get up to? Yeah, so like us, the journalists could not see how all of the phenomena could have been faked or why the group would do it. The money from Channel 7 was not significant. The group clearly did not relish the public attention, and the flying objects were potentially very dangerous, particularly to a toddler. A hoaxing individual or clique within the group would have risked murder by the others if discovered. We don't believe hoaxers were at work, but if they were not only first-rate conjurers, but first-class actors as well. The origin of the HD Pult is unclear. Stavros Kanaris, who built the place in 1972 and lived there happily for 20 years, thinks the Pult is a result of his family's anger at being evicted after his business failed. The bank took my blood, 30 years of hard work. The family still dreams of returning. Every night I'm there in my dreams. My wife is always there too. It was our life. As she was forced from their home on the last day, Maria Canaris did not curse the beloved house. She did, however, put a heartfelt curse on the bank. Although moved by the story, it occurred to us that if a Pult appeared every time someone cursed a bank, then every home would have one. Irene Winters, who cleaned the house before the group moved in, recalled that it seemed spooky, unnaturally cold, and that doors seemed to open and close of their own volition. Andrew, however, thinks the Pult in a weaker form may have followed he and Kirsty for some time. So let's just take those examples for a second. So we've got because I think there could be a link there. So you've got a cleaner that said, I cleaned this for years before this family moved in. It was very creepy. It was very cold, and doors tended to shut on their own volition, right? You then have a family that is evicted from that, incredibly angry about it. And as we have discussed in investigations and on the podcast, is if these things are to be true, some of these occurrences can be where raw emotion fuels something, right? So you could have a weakened ghost or demon or poltergeist at this house. Then this eviction happens, which enrage all that energy, all that anger and energy just like manifests there and maybe gets fed on by what was already there, gave it more energy and more power to then manifest heavier and terrorize these people, feeding on this fear to feed itself further.
Yeah.
Crack the case.
I think that's up.
Excellent. 2 years earlier at Bachelor NT, was it Northern Territories?
Yeah.
They'd had stones thrown with great power and accuracy through their front door. Although they assumed their assailants were teenagers reacting to Andrew's unconcealed anti-Aboriginal views, oh my goodness, they never so much as glimpsed them. Later, when he and Kirsty worked at a construction camp, coffee cups and other objects went missing in odd circumstances. Everyone seemed to agree that the great Humpty Doo weirdness began only when they moved in. Having been told by a learned friend that Aboriginal clever men or sorcerers have sometimes plagued their enemies with showers of stones, we wondered if Andrew and Kirsty had been cursed in that manner. Interesting. An incident which occurred a few days before we arrived seemed to hint that such was the case. Kirsty, at home alone, noticed two indigenous men digging a hole next to the house, which is 70 meters from the road. When challenged, they walked silently away. Leaves had been cleared and a 6 by 2 foot grave size patch around the foot deep hole. After that mysterious visit, all Pult activity ceased for 4 days, the longest break they'd had. Despite all the references to his terrible death, the residents strongly rejected the notion that their mate Troy was haunting them, having noticed that the Pult attempted to play on some of their other fears and concerns. After apparently listening to their conversations, the group threw a challenge right back in its ectoplasmic face. Walking through the house, they shouted such non-Vatican approved invocations as, "You're not Troy, you piss-weak bastard. Why don't you just fuck off?" Thereafter, all references to Troy ceased, and the residents, though never relishing it, slowly became used to living with the Pult, and at times even deliberately provoked it into tantrums. Andrew successfully stirred it up for us a couple of times by reading out Psalms from Father Tom's Bible. We admired the group for the way they refused to be driven from the house, which, with its spacious grounds, large garage, and poolside bar, suited them perfectly at the time. Finally, however, in early May, after surviving the onslaught of the poltergeist, the scrutiny of a nation, and a curious, unjustified eviction attempt from their landlord, they walked away on their own terms, leaving the house and hopefully the poltergeist behind them. The Humpty Doo case seemed to have almost everything we have come to expect from a major poltergeist outbreak. Showers of stones, rappings and scratchings, dangerous objects thrown with great force but without causing injury, threatening messages, mind games, violent reactions to prayers and religious paraphernalia, resistance to exorcism, ill-informed pronouncements by skeptics, and half-assed contrived exposed of being supposed hoaxes. The suggestions that a curse, Greek, Aboriginal, or otherwise, is capable of conjuring up a poltergeist is not entirely without precedent. In 1980, 2 South African teenagers reportedly plagued by stone falls after annoying a witch doctor, but 2 things observed at Humpty Doo have, we believe, not been recorded elsewhere. After a wild night in February, which left a thick covering of pebbles on their car roof and outdoor bar, the residents noticed long, shallow troughs in their gravel driveway, as though the pebbles had been vacuumed up in their thousands. Shortly afterwards, Brett Stiles, a mate of Murph's, may have caught a unique glimpse of Pult reloading. One evening, he observed a strange object flying from the driveway, under the patio roof, and away at tremendous speed. It appeared to be spherical, jet black, and smaller than fist-sized, and it had 2-foot-long stream of gravel behind it. Freaky. So they potentially have seen it in object form.
Stealing the gravel it was
stealing
using to
pebbles
with.
to use. I mean, at least it shows that a poltergeist can't just materialize something. It has to physically go and get it.
Yeah.
How many times were these pebbles thrown? And did the front garden's pebbles diminish? Like, did they just eventually run out of stones in their front garden? Or
yeah, well, they drive into their driveway one day and go, "Christ, where's all the pebbles gone?"
No stones. Yeah. They're all gone.
I mean, if you're only getting like a handful of pebbles at a time getting thrown at you,
true.
Like, think about how many you've got. You often get them in tons, don't you? So
true.
But
Fair enough.
So there we go. That's the Humpty Doo haunting. What do we think?
I can't believe I've never heard of it before.
I know. Maybe it's because it's Australian. Like, we obviously hear a lot more about like the UK and America as opposed to Australian kind of stuff. But yeah, so Lozzie, Scott, Maya, in that order, did it happen?
I can't say it definitely did. The only thing that holds up for me is the fact that 6 reporters went there, and although there's no accounts from them firsthand, it's these 2 reporting what they had heard them say or have heard them being quoted as saying. That's the only thing that really holds up for me, because there's 3 things that are glaringly obvious, and I would imagine they would include this if they had it. There's no footage or no photographs of anything other than just the word car on the floor in pebbles. As we were going through the
Oh, you're muted.
Oh, you're muted. Whoa, what's happened there?
Don't know.
Poltergeist.
I've been silenced.
There's
a couple of pictures throughout that had little like references to pebbles, or there was images of pebbles on there, but there's nothing there that's really concrete. There was nothing recorded, obviously, by the news teams or the journalists that went there before, because they said the batteries died and then everything went mental. There's also they have a kid there.
Yeah.
Why the fuck did they keep the kid there? Like, I know, like, if you got nowhere else to go, fair enough, but protect the life of the kid.
Yeah, I think so.
It's I don't know. There are a lot of question marks over it, but the one thing that I can't really refute, because I don't have enough evidence, is the journalist saying that they were believers in it. That's the only thing that really holds up for me.
Fair play. Scott?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people involved in this. If it's a elaborate hoax or, it's being faked for media attention, there's a lot of people they've got to convince. And the fact that there's multiple different religious figures, multiple different journalists, and everybody seems to unanimously agree, adds a lot of credibility to it being legit in my eyes. Again, without footage, there is apparently some footage somewhere on the internet, but I've not found it nor seen it. But yeah, I think without footage, it's hard to believe, but just the amount of people that would have to buy into this hoax and would have to be fooled if this was, a legitimate hoax. And again, also the risk of having a toddler there while knives are being thrown around and stones and pebbles. I think there's too much to risk if you're faking it. Yeah.
Fair enough. And Maya?
I think for me, it's just too crazy. Like, I feel like other paranormal experiences tend to be a lot more subtle than this, and I just feel like this is just a bit crazy. And I feel like the people that wrote this article are clearly very set in their belief that it's real, and I feel like the entire article is quite biased to that.
Very true.
I feel like I would need to see the articles or statements from these journalists, because, like, looking online, I can see a lot of articles about it. There's a lot of journalists from like NT News, etc., that are talking about it, but I just don't know. I feel like this article could be very much leaning towards the belief, but there might be 50 journalists that did go that weren't that interested. My other thing is $5,000 is a lot of money. They say that it isn't in that article, and I particularly in 1990 or whenever you said this was,
98.
that is a lot of money. And I feel like, looking at the picture of the house, it's quite a simple house. $5,000 to them was probably quite a lot of money, and they said they accepted that deal because they weren't going to let anyone else in, and then immediately let these two people in, and have clearly done loads of other articles with other companies since then as well. So there's just some things that don't add up, and I just think it's a bit too crazy to be believable, personally. And like Lozzie said, there's nothing caught on camera. I know that is a thing. That is definitely a thing that all investigators do say, that when the equipment goes off, they tend to come out more. That is definitely a thing, but to not have caught anything on camera is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and also not one of them ever got injured. All these flying knives, they never got injured. I don't know. It's just too much, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say on that last point, why would the poltergeist not perform for the cameras if it's more than happy to perform for the people? Like, I know that when we've done investigations, we've heard noises when the cameras are off, which is fucking annoying, but that's because we don't film every second of every moment. And you might be like, why the fuck don't you do that? Well, I'm just going to be brutally honest. I can't be fucked to sit through 12 hours of footage to edit it. So we do it in segments. We're like, this is the EMF bit. We start filming, we film the EMF bit, we go back to our whatever, we turn the camera off, we put it on charge or whatever. And then we're gonna go do the I don't know, the fucking Ouija board. So we turn the cameras back on, blah blah blah, right? These were recording 24/7, and didn't catch anything, turned the cameras off, then everything kicked off. Why? Has to be a why. If a poltergeist is happy to do this when everyone's about, but they don't have a camera in their hand, where's the connection of where's the benefit to this entity in not being filmed? First of all, how the fuck does it understand what a camera does? But second, where's the logic there? That's the bit that I'm struggling with.
Because there was the bit written in the Pebbles about, no cameras and pick camera, I think was
why.
Why?
That's what I want. I'm not saying therefore, haha, gotcha, this is bullshit. I'm just saying, seriously, okay, let's say it's real. Cool. Why the fuck doesn't a poltergeist want to be videoed?
Yeah.
Why?
The other thing is, like, they said that while they were filming, the stuff would happen behind them. And I feel like that's also quite suspicious because it's like nobody has any evidence of where it came from other than that one person who claims to have caught her doing it.
Yeah.
So, they keep talking about how there's no way they could be this good actors or this good conjurers, as they kept calling them. Yes, they could. Like, it's not that hard. They would have to be very talented at it, and it is very possible that they weren't, but it's not impossible for them to have thrown stuff around the room. Or, like, for example, the one about the bullet where it landed on his lap. All he had to do was just wait for people to not be looking and then drop something on his lap and be like, oh my God, this just dropped on my lap.
Yeah.
No one even saw it. So,
yeah. It's hard.
Like, just to point out also, I know I mentioned it right at the start about the two Troys being spelt differently. They're spelt differently throughout the entire article. So if they have a spelling mistake, then they've done it consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, but then I guess that could possibly lend credibility to it being real, because if they knew how to spell their friend's name, they would have spelled it right.
Yeah.
So, but maybe the poltergeist has heard Troy. He's heard them talk about
and
Troy.
Trying to mock them more than,
and has assumed it's Troy rather than Trouy, possibly.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, I think there's good arguments for, there's good arguments for against. It's a hard one. I'm in the middle, unfortunately. I will have to sit on the fence on this one because I can't make my mind up either way. But a fantastic case nonetheless. Surprised there probably has been a movie about it, but I'm surprised if there hasn't.
You kind of have to sit on the fence with this one because there's no concrete evidence of either side. So it's either you call them a liar because you think they're a liar for no reason, or you call them a truther because you think they're truthing for no reason. Essentially, it's just whether or not you're going to believe them. It's hearsay, Your Honor.
Yeah, exactly. Right, Patreon question of the pod comes from Thomas and Lucy. It's not two different people. Well, it is, but they have one account called Thomas and Lucy. So this is Thomas and Lucy. Do you have any upcoming investigations planned? Seriously missing them? Yes, we do. This will be we'll have done it by the time this goes out because we're super duper ahead. But as of right now, we have an investigation planned in June and an investigation planned in August. I would like to plan an investigation for July so that we have, and then I just think, it's not, we haven't not done them because we don't like doing them. I want to be abundantly clear. If I'll speak for myself and you guys can speak for yourselves, I absolutely love doing the investigations. Do we all agree?
Yes.
They are enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's just a fucking weird one. Like I said this in my solo pod the other week, it's just fucking weird. I can't, it's mental. When I said earlier, to me, it feels like February. It's not because the weather is shit. It's because genuinely, I feel like 6 to 8 weeks, 10 weeks into this year. Instead, we're 6 months. Every week is just fucking flying. And obviously, I'm busy with my job and all things like that. But it's just like this year has just passed me by, basically. Like, in my head, we were at Ancient Ram Inn like last month, so it's all right because it's only been a month or two since the investigation. But in reality, it's been 6 months. It's not intentional. It's not like we don't want to do these. It's just this year has just got away from us, you know. And so I want to kind of pick it up from here and get them going.
Yeah. The other thing is, I think we've become increasingly aware of how dangerous abandoned buildings are. And we've been watching a lot of, I think the account's called Chilling Scares. We've been watching a lot of his abandoned building videos, like things that have gone wrong. And it's just, every single one of them is them finding somebody living there. And it's so terrifying. Like, I think we've been completely aware of how dangerous they are, but I think that we've been a little bit naive to actually how serious it could get for us. Like, and I think that video that, I don't know if we put it in a podcast or not, but we've definitely talked about it. The video of the knife swinging down on the stairwell, stuff like that does happen in abandoned buildings in Norwich. So I'm not comfortable with doing it.
But we've
anymore.
always known this, though. Like, I mean, I'm not being funny. The second abandoned place we did was the paper mill, and we found out someone was murdered in there a week before we went in there.
Yeah.
And that was like 2021, 2022.
I think the thing that we need to do with abandoned buildings is we need to allocate a lot more scoping out time. And I think that a minimum of an hour beforehand should be spent sitting outside watching for movement. And then
I want to add to the abandoned building videos my little drone as a little scan. I want to fly the drone in the building.
Yeah.
As a little so that could be cool because that's cool for the video and it helps with our safety. But if I crash the drone in there, we have to go and get it. So, but I trust my flying abilities.
There you go.
So I think that'd be cool.
Do you remember when you hit that electric wire?
I didn't hit the electric wire and nearly
bounced off it. Bounced off it. I saw it.
No, because that would have went off. No, it would have exploded. Basically, I was filming something for work, and I was pulling away backwards from what I was filming, and all of a sudden, there's just loads of on my screen. There's just loads of cables. I've flown through the mains fucking cables on the road.
Jesus,
with the drone. I reckon if I'd have hit them, I would have taken the road out. Mental. So, yeah, that was fucking close, wasn't it? It was a great shot, though.
It was.
But yeah, so investigations are coming. I would like June, July, August, September, October, November, December.
Yeah.
So, or maybe do a couple in like August, September, October time to cover the winter months because they are disgusting.
Yeah. I think
July, Panic Chase, easy.
Yeah.
I think the winter months are achievable. I just think we need to pick specific locations like hotels where there's heating.
Yeah, true.
Places that are open and maintained around the clock.
Yeah.
Not 500, 1,000-year-old buildings that don't have any insulation and let the ice in at night.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
still not
hotel's a good shout as well. Hotel's a great shout. But yeah, we're on it, is what I'm getting at. We're on it. Okay. Thank you so much. If you'd like to have your question read out, become a patron, patreon.com/DutyRhino. Thank you so much. And support the pod. If you enjoy listening to it or watching it, like and share and all that good stuff. Share it around with your friends. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you very soon. See you.
See you
Drip
later.
out. Drip, drop, drip, drip, drop, drip, drip out.